All right, so today what we're doing is we're introducing you to some of the elements of this release that we are going to be pushing. We are going to be pushing this release into the CAMS database tonight. So you guys will start seeing this stuff tomorrow. So let's go through what we've done. And a lot of the items that we're going to go over today are related to invoices in the payable side. So we've been really trying to do a better job about, showing the types of things that are happening through the invoice process, making some things a little bit more visible, and then just kind of improving that process altogether. So let's take a look at some of the things that we're doing as it relates to invoices. The first thing that we're doing is logging invoice parameter updates, right? So anytime someone goes into an invoice and changes the information associated with that invoice, we are now starting to log those changes and those notations. So that way it makes it easier for us to go back and do research to figure out maybe why an invoice got coded to this GL or how the bank account changed and that sort of thing. So right now I've got an invoice in Presidential Valley for my flux capacitor here. And you can see whenever I created that invoice and I coded it in the complete data entry screen, you can see this little notation here. The following fields were changed. So you can see I selected the association, I selected the invoice date, and I didn't enter an amount. You can see here at 2:26, so a couple minutes later, the following fields were changed. So it shows me selecting the provider and the amount. So from now on, you guys are going to start seeing invoices as they're updated in the system, activity notes logged to record what those updates are. Again, just making it easier for us to understand how things are happening and why they're happening. So let us know if you have any questions on that. That's going to be super helpful in researching invoices for sure. All right, so now let's look at a couple things that we've done in the payable side as it relates to recent invoices. So let's go over to this tab here. So the first thing that we did is added the GL codes and just some additional information on the recent invoices tab to make it easier to see all sorts of helpful information on those recent invoices that you've paid to that service provider. This makes it especially helpful for those vendors that you pay out of multiple GLs, right? So you can come in here into recent invoices, and recent invoices is always showing you invoices to that provider, but now we're also showing, the GL codes, and you've got column settings here to hide and show different pieces of information as it relates to those recent invoices. So it's really just making that recent invoice functionality a little bit more useful for you there. So not only can you see the recent invoices, what status are they in, but what were they coded to for that provider that you have selected there. And then while we're on recent invoices, another thing that we've done is we've given you the ability to pull up multiple windows at the same time as it relates to the attachments. So as we all know, when I'm coding these invoices, that invoice image is going to automatically pop up for me when I hit that little paperclip there. Now what we can do is we can click on this little attachment icon here and open up new windows with each of these invoice attachments. So that way I can look at a copy of my recent invoice side by side with the invoice that I'm coding here. So previously you come in, you click on this little paperclip and you see a copy of that invoice. It makes it really helpful to see actual copies of these recent invoices. And so we just made it really easy for you to do that. Again, so if you're coding invoices and you're on the recent invoices tab, you can click that little attachment there and that will open up a new window for that invoice image so you can compare and contrast those new invoice images. So again, it makes it a lot easier to do that research there. Another thing that we're doing as it relates to invoices and just transparency of this process is we're logging check images after they're paid. So once we've paid an invoice, it's really nice to be able to go back in and see a copy of that check that we've paid. We get that request quite a bit, and up until this point, we've only been pulling in a copy of that check image once that bank account item is reconciled. And so now what we're doing is once that check is printed, we're pushing a copy of that check image to the invoice itself. So let's go take a look at that here. If I click on this paid invoice here, there's a copy of that check for me there. So again, once invoices are marked as paid, we're producing that check, pulling it out of the print queue. We're going to log a copy of that check image to the invoice itself so you can go back and easily reference which specific check was it that paid this invoice. Pretty cool feature there. Let me know if you guys have questions about how that works. All right, so let's jump to association settings here. We're going to go to our association settings page, and I might have done this. Yeah, let's do it on this tab here, association and settings. So this one's pretty straightforward for those of you that are familiar with the AR side of life as it relates to generating statements. We have statement parameters that we use when we generate statements. So by default, our statements don't automatically generate for owners that are on automatic draft. We're by default not going to generate statements for owners that have a credit balance and those types of things. And those are parameters that you can override when you're creating these statement action items. But one of the issues that you guys have run into is if you want to have those statements automatically generate from your association calendar, kind of like your e-statements, you don't have the ability to select the parameters at that time. So what we're doing in the meantime, we are working out the ability to, associate and identify parameters through that calendar generation process. But in the meantime, what we've done is we've pushed to the association level these statement parameter overrides. So that way you can have your statements automatically generate, but still use those custom statement parameters, such as include an ACH, include all properties, include credit balance. I think that the include ACH default and the include credit balances were two of the bigger ones for you guys. But yeah, so I can come in on the association level, and if I want all of my owners to get a statement, even if they're on automatic draft or even if they're on a credit balance, I can set that on the association level here. And then again, my calendar generated items will use these parameters. I think that's more kind of specific to your group over there, Kellyanne. So let me know if that makes sense, or if it doesn't make sense, if you let me, if you have any questions on that.
That makes sense. Yes, thank you.
Cool. Okay. Let's see here. So that is those settings. Another quick thing that we've done, and it's not anything that I can really, show you today. It's just something that I would like for you guys to get feedback to me on, or to our team, as we talk about that process on Friday. We've basically pushed through some system performance on our budget screen. So we're trying to improve the processing time on our budget screen. I know a few of you have indicated, hey, BD, this has taken a while to load on this screen. We've got a few other pages that are taking a little while to load, and we are working on those. So we have pushed an update to basically just improve the processing and load time on our accounting budget screen. So it should make navigating that page, adding and updating those budgets much quicker. And so we're hoping that that's going to maybe relieve some frustration of users that are getting those budgets in, because it is, after all, budget season. So for those of you that are working with budgets and do have your hands on that page pretty frequently, please let us know if, just your feedback, right? Has it improved? Has it not? If it hasn't improved in certain areas, let us know where you think it could use improvement. All right, so let's look, a couple of little things real quick. Let's look at our transfer funds screen real quick. So this is only going to relate to those of you who are transferring funds here. So I'm just going to go to accounting transfer funds real quick. Just a little thing. We renamed this from include GL entry to additional GL entry, just because when we're processing these transfers, we're recording the journals anyways. Right, so we wanted to make sure that it's obvious that you can include an additional GL entry, not have to go in and then make a journal to record your transfer. So most of you that are in accounting, you're already used to that process and that sort of thing. This is more for those that are getting used to the process and that are learning how to do these transfers, just to make it a little bit more intuitive for them to understand that the GL side is already being recorded, but you can include additional journal information here. So we just changed the language there. No functionality of the page has changed, just the language has. So let me know if that doesn't make sense for you out there in the accounting world. Let's see here. That is the transfer funds. And then this is actually going to relate to those of you on the accounting side again. And I wanted to just bring this up. This isn't a new feature or anything like that, but I just wanted to mention that this has been cleaned up. You were having some issues with payment adjustments. I guess there are a number of payment adjustments that had half of the adjustment put into basically a null fund. So I just wanted to let you guys know, for those of you that are related to that, that has been cleaned up and resolved. So if you do have any, outstanding issues with payment adjustments and that sort of thing, this should be good to go moving forward. But let us know if you see issues with that. Just a quick update there. All right, so a couple other little upgrades that we pushed here while we're talking about life on the side of AR. Let's go to this payment search screen. We pushed some improvements to this payment search screen. So first of all, we added sticky grids to this screen. So a lot of you are, I'm sure, already familiar with how our sticky grids work. We just added that functionality to this screen. And as we've been saying over the course of the last year, we're continuing to build out this sticky grid function to additional pages. And this is just another one of those pages where we've added that functionality. So I wanted to let you guys know about that. And then we have added an export to Excel button here. So some of you guys might be asking why you'd want to export this. Makes it really easy to pull a list of maybe all the deposits to a certain association on the date or a specific time frame, and that sort of thing. So that export to Excel is going to be really nice. But let me know if you guys run into any issues with that, or if you guys have questions on how that works. I hear a little bit of excitement from Kellyanne out there. Awesome. Let's see, anything on AR? No, let's jump back to accounting real quick. And we talked about this on our session on Friday, but I just wanted to recap and review in case you guys had any questions. Anytime you're going to post a one-sided item, right? So maybe I'm posting a deposit, posting an expense. We have this little checkbox that we added to the bottom of that screen to indicate whether or not you want it to reconcile. And again, this is for whether those scenarios where we might want to book an expense before that invoice comes in. So that way we can make sure that we've got enough money to pay that amount without having to go in and create an invoice. And then when the expense comes, the actual invoice comes through, go out and void one of those invoices in all of that mess. So I did want to just kind of recap that button, how that worked, pursuant to our conversation that we had. So there's that little mark as reconciled button there. So again, if I'm in, I guess it's probably going to relate more to those of you, those scenarios where we're doing a post expense. But if I come in here and I don't select this mark as reconciled box, as opposed to this just automatically getting reconciled like it used to do, if I don't click that little box, it's just going to stay open as an open expense for me. So that way, when that transaction comes through, I can easily reconcile that, again, without having to create multiple entries and then voiding one of those out. Anytime you go in to actually post a deposit, post an expense on an actual item, and you've got one of those other sides checked, you'll notice that when you go to do that, let me just select a good item here, post expense here, you'll notice that that box is automatically grayed out because we're not going to force you to check the box in order to reconcile it. We're automatically going to reconcile it. We just wanted to, give you that functionality to be able to just book those items ahead of time. I am not the most smooth talking in the ways of accounting. So if I did not describe that in a way that resonates with you guys, please let me know. I'll be glad to follow up to make sure everyone understands how that works. But I think after our conversation on Friday, that made sense to you out there in the accounting world. So let me know if you have any questions on that. All right, so that is the one-sided posting for reconciliations. Another quick thing, we increased the attachment limit in our web app to 10 megabytes. So previously it was, what, AJ, about 4 or 5 megabytes that we were allowing. And so we increased that size limit for homeowners on the owner's portal so they could submit requests to us and we could see those requests. But we also increased that limit in the web app side as well. So whether you're going to the association document library, whether you're going to send a new message to a homeowner, any of those types of things, you'll notice that we now have a 10 megabyte upload limit as opposed to that 4 or 5. So that's just going to mean a lot easier processing when we're dealing with those ARC requests that have big packages and those types of things. We don't have to chunk those up into as small a files at least, because we can now use up to 10 megs. So that was pretty straightforward, but let me know if you guys have questions on that. And then again, as it relates to all of the issues and items that we've covered during today's release, and even if there are things that you notice that may not be related to something that we've covered today, if you guys notice anything weird, if you guys notice any things that don't seem to be acting right or going the way that we've described them through this release process, please let us know. This is just a quick reminder. As you're going through and you identify issues related to the release, please send us an email to support@vanica.com and then just throw that hashtag release somewhere in the description of the communication that you send to us. That's going to put that request into our priority queue so that way we can make sure that we get these things addressed as quickly as possible and turned around with a resolution as quickly as possible. So it's definitely a two-way street. We want to make sure that we're providing the best service we possibly can. So we really rely on that feedback. So again, this release is going to drop tomorrow. as you guys notice things, just shoot us a quick email to support@Vanica. And then again, if you just have feedback for us, right? Like, is this page indeed loading faster now, that budget screen and those types of things? We really are going to rely on your feedback, so please let us know. And we'll be glad to help however we can. So let's stop there. Shelly, did you have anything else to add to this conversation, or is there anything else that you wanted to go over? Maybe anything that I could have done a better job of explaining before we wrap up?
No, I think you explained everything well. Just reviewing the list to make sure there weren't any bug fixes or anything like that that we wanted to make sure we were bringing y'all's attentions to.
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, I can open up the floor for any questions that they may have as well. Do you guys have any questions for us? Hope I didn't go through it too fast.
I do. Oh, sorry.
Sure, go ahead. No, go ahead.
When you were going over the new column for the GL codes on the invoices, on the recent invoices, if it was put to multiple GLs, is it going to? I'm assuming it's going to list both GLs.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, it's going to list both of those. You got it.
One thing, and I apologize, BD, if you mentioned this and I missed it, but did you talk about the sorting filtering on the created date and the last note date columns?
No, I had that on my list and I skipped right over that. That's a good one, Shelly. Let's show you that. I had that on a screen up here too. Let's go look at it real quick. So yeah, and I guess AJ is probably the one that hears about this the most, but previously when we were sorting by created date, we've advised you guys use the created time and the last note time to sort. So we can now sort by created date instead of having to use the created time function.
And that's
I should say tomorrow we will be able to.
I was gonna say we've got that in a different environment.
Yeah.
And then Natalia, you asked a question in the chat about the income statement drill downs. That is not going to be available for tomorrow, but we do expect that to be available with a with a little bit of a patch release that we're pushing out for Friday. So by Friday, that income statement drill down should be working properly.
And then where you go to see the check image, Kathy, would just be anywhere on that invoice action item when you go to look at the attachments. But that's going to be live starting tomorrow. So, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Shelly, but I believe that is only going to work for invoices moving forward. It's not going to retroactively pull anything in, will it?
Yeah, no, that's correct. This is only
Okay.
going to be for new invoices moving forward.
Got it. Does that make sense, Kathy? Do you have any other questions about how that's going to work?
That's fine, thanks.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Anything else I left out, Shelly? Thanks for picking up on that. I was excited about created data. I can't believe I forgot that.
No, I can't think of anything else worth mentioning. Just for your reference, and I guess for the group's reference, the release notes, I just sent those over to you. So once you proofread them, you can send them out to the team so that they have a complete list of bug fixes and everything like that.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, and then AJ, do you want me to just post this to the CAMS YouTube, or you got a better or a different place for me to push this when I get this recording finished? I guess I could stop, can't I?